Hi everyone, Melanie Muenchinger here, illustrator for Gina K Designs. Today I have a new video for you from the overwhelming feedback that I got for the Gina K Pure Luxury Cardstock video and giveaway. Thank you all so much for your comments. I will be sharing the winner very soon. But I also wanted to just make up some charts for you so that you can keep track of the ink, but you can also do swatches of your cardstock on these as well. So this is a free PDF that I'm offering all of you for the 40 colors that we have. We've got a new color coming out as well. So I want this to be just a good resource for you, and I'm going to show you today how I would fill it in with those ink pads. Here are two completed color charts. I'm going to be giving these away later, and so I'm going to be asking a question. Make sure you watch to the end of the video. So there's a couple different ways that you can fill out this chart with the ink pads. Here are two different examples. For this one, I chose a large image, which is the butterfly from my triple play frame stamp set. But what I also did, this is just showing full strength or how it's going to look the first time you stamp it. But then I also used the smaller coordinating butterfly in that same triple play frame stamp set to do what's called stamping off or generation stamping. So you can see this is when the ink is stamped full strength like you see here, but then when you immediately stamp it again, and then stamp it a third time without re-inking. So this is a really nice way for you to see the different variations in how it's going to look on your project. I love stamping off. Whenever I'm using my color pads, I almost always do some stamping off because it's just more interesting and it creates more depth in your card to have more than one shade. And obviously, these all being from the same pad, they all coordinate with each other. I also recommend when you're starting to grow your collection of ink pads that you start with some of the darker colors because you're going to get a lot more shades, and it's almost like having three pads in one when you can get three greens out of it versus when you have a lighter color. It's really hard to see that second and third generation. It is still there, but it's hard to go out to more than two or three. A very dark color like black, you can go to almost 6. So I didn't bother to show all these here. But so just choose an image that's going to fit within that little box. I've also made a couple additions and changes. I accidentally put two of the same color on here. That is fixed. So I've got the PDF all ready to go for you. Okay, so let's begin. I have them arranged in a rainbow the same way we went through the cardstock, so please check out that video. But instead of starting with the cherry red, which is so dark, I'm going to start with some of our lighter colors first and then build out. And that's because even though I am going to be doing some cleaning of the stamp with just stamping off onto a sticky note pad, but also I've got a wet paper towel for some of the ones that are a little bit darker and need a little bit more cleaning. I don't want to stamp in cherry red and then go to such a light color as sweet corn, because even with cleaning sometimes there can still be a little bit of the red ink on here, and that's going to make my sweet corn turn very orange and not be a true color. So let's start with stamping some of the yellows here. I'm going to begin with the lemon drop. So I'm just going to stamp this. I'm just going to do the full strength today, but I can refer a few times to that one with the 3 little butterflies. Then let's do the sweet corn. So this is a warmer yellow. It has a little bit more brown or orange in it, just like the description from the lemon drop. These are going to fade a little bit as they dry. This one is the prickly pear. It's a nice golden yellow. Has a lot of green in it too, but you're going to see it fade a lot. I don't know why I'm not getting the top of that stamp there. Hang on one second. It's like one of those things that you need a MISTI for. So I'm just trying to ink up that top corner of that butterfly. Pardon my head. Okay, there we go. Now, since this is a little bit darker, so see how you can clean the stamp by stamping it off, but then to get in those little bitty details on there, I'm just going to barely tap onto this wet paper towel. And then I want to dry it after I get it wet. Okay, so we do not have this as an ink pad yet, but Gina told me it's coming. So this is my favorite yellow that I mentioned before in my cardstock video, the Wild Dandelion. This is coming out in an ink pad, so I've got a little space all ready to go for that one. Let's move on. I'm going to do just one of the greens, just because that is so light, before I move on to my other greens and oranges. This is the apple mint. Nice pale pastel. It's really bright though, so I like that. Let's do the other greens here. Stamp this off. And we'll do the jelly bean green. And I have these arranged so it goes light to dark or dark to light as best as I could. Some of them are just a completely different shade though. So it's not necessarily darker or lighter, it's just yellower or bluer. This one's the grass green. Next is the fresh asparagus. And this one's my favorite to use with flowers. Has kind of an olive to it. And this looks really pretty stamped off. And then, again, I want to stamp these off even though the next color is darker. I don't want to get that yellowish or bluish shade into my next color. And then this is the Christmas pine. Okay, all right, so we've got our greens done. Let me, look how blue that looks when you wipe it off. It's interesting. Okay, now let's go back and do some of these. Got the honey mustard and then kind of that brown in there. So these are kind of in between, kind of going to a gold to a brown. So this is the honey mustard. Stamp that off, dry it off. Then we'll do the warm cocoa. That one fades quite a bit as it dries. And then the dark sage. And what you can do with this color chart, since we've got coordinating cardstock colors for almost all of these pads, is to print this out double-sided or just print a second page, and then you could actually just punch out a piece of cardstock to put in each of these sections. But in a minute I'm going to show you a different way that I like to look at the cardstock colors that I have at a glance. So we've got that wild dandelion open. Let's move now to the oranges before I do my blues. So we'll work up. So this is the sweet mango. And then next we'll do that peach Bellini. But you can see how the lid is a really good indicator of what that color ink is underneath, and then these match the papers. So I'll show you some little cardstock swatches up against the ink once they've dried. So there's the peach Bellini, love that peach. Red velvet, this is going to be another color that Gina is working on getting to coordinate with one of our cardstock colors. It's a beautiful red. We are going to be discontinuing the cranberry tart, I believe, and I did not show that in my last video. A couple people mentioned it, so I don't think that one is going to be available anymore from what I have been told by Gina, just because of manufacturing. Okay, let's go on to tomato soup. And the faded brick. It's really nice for masculine cards, I think. In the fall, of course. I'm going to do the lipstick last, and I'll show you why. This is the juiciest pad I've ever gotten, and so it's a little bit harder to get off of my stamp. Let's do the red hot. Love that nice true red, and then the cherry red. Stamp that off, dry it off. Okay. All right, so the lipstick, it just requires a light touch because, again, it's just a really juicy pad. It's one of our newer colors that we've gotten. Also, I want to point out, I used my Spectrum Noir, not the aqua markers, excuse me, the Noir, the alcohol markers, to make just a little stripe on each side of my pad. So that might bother some of y'all that I kind of changed up the look of the pad, but when I have it in my stamp pad organizer, no matter what way I throw it in, I can see the color of that lid. And so I just chose a color that works for each of these inks, that coordinates, and then I can just see at a glance. So that system works really well for me. Okay, so I forgot to stamp this after I took the lid off. Okay, so just gently press. It's sticking right there at the top. I think I must have some residue on the top of that wing that's making it resist a little bit. Okay. So I want to make sure that is very clean before I go on to the next color. Still in there a little bit. Okay, so let's go on to some of the blues. So we've got the Ocean Mist. This is one of my favorites. Really the whole kind of aqua line. Oh, and see, and that did not turn out very true, that color. That lipstick is just so persistent. So what I'm going to do here, instead of starting the whole chart over, I'm just going to just punch out another white piece to add on there. Okay, so hopefully I have this clean now. Next we're going to do the Turquoise Sea. And then the Blue Lagoon. The Blue Raspberry. That's a bright one, so I want to get that one off on my wet paper. And the Powder Blue. The Blue Denim. And then finally that Navy. Okay. Now we're going to some of those lighter colors again. Got the lovely lavender. The wild lilac. And then the edible eggplant. That one looks very dark, but it will fade as it dries, as I said. Then we're going to do the Wisteria. And let me clean off, and I'm going to do the pinks, and then we'll end with the dark browns and the blacks. Okay. All right, so we've got, and this kind of double printed, my paper got stuck in there, but the PDF is okay, I promise. So we've got the Innocent Pink, the Bubblegum, the Passionate Pink, and then finally this Dusty Rose. Off. Okay, love those. All right, finally we've got just our last few pads here. We have got, where is it? Looking for, I have just ink pads all over my desk. Move these around for a second. Here are my neutrals. Still in my organizer. They are not. Where are they? Here we are. Okay, I got them up out of the way. I had to push everything out of the way to make room for 40 pads. All right, so here's the craft. Next we'll do the Moonlit Fog, and I forgot to show this piece of cardstock in my cardstock video. That will be in the sampler I'm sending out. So here's the Moonlit Fog. Then we've got the Charcoal Brown and the Dark Chocolate. So this one is Dark Chocolate. brown. Has a nice gray to it. Very, very elegant on cards. And then finally the black onyx, and we're done. Okay. And there you have it. Now I told you that I'd also wanted to show you how I like to organize my cardstock. So if you want, you can just do a punch and put it right on top of that little box. Sadie, stop. Sorry about that. But I like to put mine on a little ring sampler. So this is just a little wine ring charm that I got, but you could also use one of those claw key rings that actually opens and closes. I just find this easy for being able to go through and then take a couple off of my ring if I want to put them next to each other when I'm trying to plan a color combination. But as you can see, the color's perfect match to the ink. So this might be a way that you would rather keep your cardstock pieces organized. What I also like to do though is if you ever like to do any bleaching on your cards, you can actually put just a little spot of bleach onto that cardstock, and this shows you the color that the cardstock is going to become when you add bleach to it. So really interesting. Some of them don't change hardly at all, but some of them it's a very dramatic difference. Now you usually get kind of a whitish or a yellow color, but some are kind of surprising. They'll turn a little bit purple or a little bit blue. So it's just a nice reference to have. As you can see, this is the navy, and that turns almost to pink. I wouldn't have thought that if I hadn't done that ahead of time. So that's just nice so that there's not any surprises when you're going to be doing bleach on a project. The winner of my giveaway that I had the other day is Sue McRae. Thank you so much for your comment. She said, love seeing this range of colors. My faves are red, hot, and turquoise. Those are some of my favorites too. So I will be getting in touch with you and sending you that huge cardstock sampler. For today's giveaway, I want you to please tell me in the comments whether you would prefer to have a color chart that is either stamped off to show those generations or just stamped in the full strength. So stamped off is A, full strength is B. But just enter, like, share, please, and I will be sending out some color charts to one lucky person as well as a card that I have stamped up that I hope you'll enjoy from another video. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope that you enjoy these color charts and enjoy the free PDF. Please subscribe to my channel and check us out for more inspiration at Gina K Designs and Stamp TV. Thank you for watching today. God bless.